Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukha karoti vachalam pangoram gayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Nitinamine Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripapradayine Gaurakata Damadaya Nagara Grama Tarine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. Today I will be referring to Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 texts 26 to 30, and I will be rapping a little bit just to get us into that mood. And these one particular verse, just give me a second. Next verse. Yeah. So this particular verse, I have some thoughts to share regarding this verse and Bhagavatam reading, what we're doing in the morning and how they are related. Now, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janmam mritasya cha tasmadapaharyarte natvam shochitumarhasi. Tasmadapaharyarte natvam shochitumarhasi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. And Prabhupada makes very relevant points here, very relevant for our everyday activities. And when we're looking at this principle of birth, there are many births. It's not just birth in terms of the bodily birth. If we want to look broader, there is birth of relationships, there is birth of projects, there is birth of chapters of our life, there is birth of our identity in a specific field. There is a birth of certain objects that we may possess, like, we may buy a computer, and that's like the birth of that computer for us that day. So I'd like to compare that sense of birth and death as the beginning and the end of certain chapters of our life as well. Now, one has to take birth according to one's activities of life. So that brings about the point of karma. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. And in this way, it's going through the cycle of birth and death. And after another, without liberation. Okay, that's like, that's the cycle of birth and death, the point here. Then Prabhupada says here, this is a very important point here, the battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme Lord, was an inevitable event. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? Okay. Now, I want to compare this particular section to Srimad Bhagavatam, where Yudhishthir Maharaj, this is, see, what we're reading here in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, is before the war. So before the war of Kurukshetra, Arjuna is very bewildered. Arjuna is very afraid of killing his relatives. He's afraid, he's confused. He's lost his composure, trying to figure out, should I fight this war? Should I not fight this war? Is fighting this religious or giving up is religious? And we have so many notions in our life. Should I give up this relationship? Should I give up this job? Or am I going to fight for this job? Am I going to fight for this relationship? There is so much consideration before we end anything in our life. And interestingly here, this is can you see my screen? Can you see this the Brahmin pause? Can you read? I'm not sure if this. Okay, great. So this, I'm sharing this from Srimad Bhagavatam, okay? This happens later. This is after the war, after the Kurukshetra war. And Yudhishthir Maharaj is already the emperor. And the Brahmanas come, and then they're predicting Parikshit's chart, astrological chart. And they're predicting what kind of a child and what kind of future Parikshit is going to have. And then they're saying so many amazing things, but then they become quiet at one point. And then I'd like somebody to read this part from here to all this from here, from the Brahmin paused. If somebody can volunteer to read that, it's a very interesting section.
I will. The Brahmin paused and looked away, hesitating to say more. Yudhishthira became worried. Please do not hide anything from me, he said. Will he face any difficulty? The elderly priest took a deep breath and answered, O king, a Brahmin will curse him to die by a snake bird's bite. Yudhishthira and his 4 brothers looked shocked. How could the noble king incur a Brahmin's curse? They looked quizzically at the priest, who explained, this Brahmin will be an immature child acting rashly. However, your grandson will take the curse as an opportunity to detach himself from the world and surrender to Krishna. Yudhishthira felt reassured. Anything that led to Krishna's service was always auspicious. Can you tell us more? He asked. The priest replied, at that time, he will make spiritual inquiry from Sukadeva Goswami, Vyasadeva's exalted son. He will thus become purified of all material attachment and attain complete fearlessness. Yudhishthira and his brothers gazed down affectionately at the sleeping baby. This child was surely blessed. Glad at heart, they distributed copious gifts to the Brahmins. The young prince flourished under the loving care of his 5 grandfathers. Whenever he would see someone for the first time, he would intently examine his face, wondering if that individual might be that same person who had rescued him while in his mother's womb.
Yeah, thank you so much. So what we are seeing here is after that, fateful war, and everybody's killed. Pandava's 5 children are dead, and the whole Kurus are dead. All the enemies are gone. The entire has been wiped clean from everybody, right? And Yudhishthir Maharaj, in these chapters, I mean, for those of you who are attending the morning Bhagavatam class, we are also reading Bhagavatam every day. I mean, for Europe, it's late at night, so you cannot join, but we do have the recording. So we are studying this particular chapter where Yudhishthira is very saddened by the situation, and parallelly, what we're studying in Gita today is Arjuna's exact concern that what is happening in the Bhagavatam, that chapter is going to happen. That's his fear. And I was thinking, how does Krishna convince him, right? How does Krishna convince Arjuna that he should not be worried? I'm going to share the screen as I'm going to say this. I'm going to rap a little bit. I'm going to wrap this song a little bit for you. I really like some of these words in it. It's a very short section. Alexa, play. That's the music for the rap. It's coming. Just a second. I don't know how to turn this around though. Anyway, what I'm reading is here in the text. I don't know how to turn this picture around. Second chapter. And the title is Trivial Tears. Texts 26 to 30. And even if the body's death could end the soul's existence, you still would have no reason for resentment and resistance. A body manufactured from the primal elements returns to them again at death. What is there to lament? The soul's amazing features, which the mindful understand, cannot be seen by creatures of the ordinary man. My friend, no man or weapon can annihilate the soul. Forget your foolish fears and let your needless weeping go. While birth brings death and death brings birth, the soul is never dead. Conditions call for fighting, so why sit and cry instead? Okay, so in this section, there are a few points. First point here is, even if the body's death could end our existence, the soul's existence, even if it's the end of everything, there is no reason to lament or resist. So this is how Krishna convinced Arjuna, and I was thinking, Yudhishthira Maharaj went through more of a turmoil, more of a confusion, because he didn't hear these words from Krishna, because Arjuna had heard these words before. And there is a whole, before this section, before the trivial trivial tears section, there's another section. It's said, you're a soul, you're not the body. And those words are my favorite, where Krishna is actually basically saying, such attitudes and platitudes are pouring from your head, but cooler people never mourn the living nor the dead. Each one of us have lived before a countless flow of lives, and each of us will live forever. Spirit never dies. Our bodies morph from young to old to dead, and then we leave to take another body as the mindful souls perceive. As winter turns to summer, so a bummer becomes joy. But the wiser dudes are never moved by things they can't avoid. When you can tolerate both tribulation and elation, you're stable and enabled to just savor liberation. So he goes on and on, Krishna goes on and on with those verses from second chapter, text number 11 to 25, expressing to Arjuna, addressing exactly these dilemmas that Yudhishthira is going through in Bhagavatam. He's exactly addressing these things. He's speaking more and more about the outer body, how it ends, and the inner soul will continue. To think that you will kill or will be killed are both mistakes, for souls cannot be killed and souls cannot assassinate. Krishna is convincing again and again and again to Arjuna that you're not the one killing. You're not the one killing. And Yudhishthira Maharaj goes through this whole crisis. The trauma hits him really hard. And he's like lamenting, saying, for my ambition, for my sake, for me to become an emperor, I've killed everyone. He has this complete breakdown. And I was relating also the section of Srimad Bhagavatam where Kunti Devi, she's approaching Krishna in this first canto, she's approaching Krishna right after the Upa Pandavas have been killed by Ashwatthama. And when she's approaching Krishna, she is not at all bringing up the recent trauma of the Upapandavas being dead. She's actually, in fact, speaking of how Krishna protected them from Ashwatthama's attack. She's speaking about all the times Krishna protected, but she does not touch the trauma that has just happened with the five children of Pandavas being killed. And we've been discussing this point in the Bhagavatam, and Taruni brought up that point about trivial things. And then I found this in Kalakanta Prabhu's book where he writes the Rap of God book. And then exactly I found this section in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verses, exact those verses from 26 to 30. And exactly the name is Trivial Tears. So we sometimes cry for end of certain things. And even in Vedic astrology, when something ends, it's represented by Saturn, the planet Saturn. So planet Saturn actually brings about a closure. He brings about a sense of end to that false ego. And it's very interesting to see how Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedic knowledge, like such as Jyotish, they are all interconnected with this particular point of Gita verse that we are studying today. Those Jatasahi Dhruvo Mrityur, I like this, this rap or like poetic way of remembering words. It really helps me. Like when Krishna says, while birth brings death and death brings birth, the soul is never dead. It really sits in the mind, right? And then Krishna is saying, my friend, no man or weapon can annihilate the soul. And then he says, forget your foolish fears and let your needless weeping go. This is really going to become one of my mantras in the next few days. I'm going to write that on my mirror. Shri, forget your foolish fears and let your needless weeping go. See, those are the trivial tears that Arjuna is being told by Krishna. Don't shed this trivial tears, Arjuna, because your basis for lamentation, your basis for fear is not it's not approved by me. And then Krishna goes on and on convincing him why why are you sitting and crying instead? Why conditions call you for fighting? Why are you sitting and crying? Get up. So this is our situation too. So, we all have traumas, okay? Nobody is debating that. Nobody's saying we don't have reasons to complain, but we also have conditions that call us for fighting, not fighting people who are causing us the pain, but fighting those anarthas, fighting those character defect that is actually keeping us in that same place for lifetimes, and we're not moving. Progress is not happening. And this morning, for those of you in India this morning, and for those of you in America yesterday, we were studying Vidura telling Dhritarashtra, stop being the dog at the house of people waiting for crumbs. Get up, get your ass out of the palace, go and do your austerity. So I have been meditating on this point as well. Everything that's born is supposed to die. Every chapter of our life that we begin is going to end. It is going to end. And every beautiful chapter is going to end. Every tough chapter is going to end. But it's up to us how we're going to deal with those chapters. Like Kunti, the way she ends the chapter of her noticing her grandchildren being slaughtered by Ashwatthama, and yet she goes in front of Krishna. And the way she closes the chapter is with gratitude and grace and taking shelter. She does not bring up the trauma and traumatize everyone again and again, because everybody's already traumatized. What she does, she gracefully closes that chapter. She tells Krishna, she acknowledges how Krishna has been there and Krishna is helping us. And the way Dhritarashtra and Vidura, the way they close their chapter of Dhritarashtra leaving the palace of Yudhishthir Maharaj, leaving the shelter of Yudhishthir Maharaj, is by I mean, that chapter beautifully explains how attached Dhritarashtra was, how much an illusion he was. And it explained, in this book, The Brilliant as the Sun, Srimad Bhagavatam retelling that we're reading. It speaks about Dhritarashtra sitting in that palace. He's like 100 and something years old. He's coughing mucus and blood as he's trying to eat luxurious foods prepared by the servants, and his foot is swollen. He cannot sleep properly at night. He has liver problems because the palace doctor has told him to stop eating rich foods, but he cannot control his mind and senses, and he's complaining to Gandhari. He's saying, my foot hurts. I'm not able to sleep at night. I cannot digest what I'm eating. But he's not giving up that food that is actually poison for him. Sometimes we may be trying to digest some food, in quotes, I'm talking about what is the food? Is it a relational expectation? Is it a pressure that we're putting on ourselves about our studies or career? Whatever it may be. What kind of food are we trying to digest that is not necessary for us? So how can we edit our life ruthlessly, knowing this point that we're studying today in Gita? Jatasya dhruvam mrityur. What is born has to die. So what kind of a death are we going to give to certain chapters of our life? Death has to be there. It is there. It is inevitable. Every hair that grows on our body has to meet its death. Every cell in our body that is moving currently has to face its death. And ultimately, our existence in this body itself has to face its death. What to speak of all the array of emotions that we experience? It will take birth, and those emotions will die. So what kind of an end will we put to those chapters of our life? This is a question to ask ourselves. And every soul, every person, especially a woman, I would say, we need to take this opportunity, just like Kunti Devi did, just like Yudhishthir did. He learned that the only grandchild, the only surviving grandchild of that whole Kuru dynasty was Parikshit. And then the Rishi sages are telling him that Parikshit is going to die by a bite of a snake bird. They were devastated to hear that. But you know what? They accepted. That's going to be the end of that chapter too. They've seen so much death, so much misery. They have ended so many chapters of their life. And now they have to prepare their minds for the chapter that is going to end, which is the future dynasty's emperor, the ruler, Parikshit. And they've been told this is what it's going to be. We cannot remain in illusion, my dear friends. We cannot remain in the illusion that our family will sustain us, maintain us, validate us, give us that sense of belonging and shelter that the soul is looking for in this world. No, our families, our teachers, whoever it may be, cannot give us that. And in fact, those disappointments and those difficult situations that we're facing, those traumas, those dysfunctionalities, those can actually become assets for us. Just as it became an asset for Arjuna, he became vulnerable and took shelter of Krishna. Just as it became a great source of strength and empowerment to Yudhishthir Maharaj, who became a transparent via medium to execute the mission of the Lord. Just as Parikshit Maharaj embraced his destiny by being bitten by the snake bird. Similarly, let us open our hearts, our minds, and become willing to let go of those distractions, especially those conscious distractions, those conscious habits, just like Dhritarashtra. What are those habits? What are those priorities which are not serving our purpose, which is blocking us from moving further and progressing in our life? This is a question to ask ourselves. Let's be ruthless in editing our life so that we can live a life of, full life, a life of purpose, a life of meaning. Every morning we can wake up and say, these difficulties, these tribulations, these traumas have served me to become more humble, to become more helpless and powerless in front of my supreme divine Father, whose arms are always open for me. Let us take that as an opportunity to become detached, just as Dhritarashtra took that opportunity when Vidura told him, stop being the dog in the house of Yudhishthir. Are you not ashamed to be staying in a place where you tried to kill them with poison by burning down the lakh house? What not have you tried to do to Yudhishthir and the brothers? Are you not ashamed to still be in his shelter? Give up this pettiness. Move on. Go forward. Give up these comforts. Take up the austerity. Similarly, we are also waiting at the doors of people. Nai kunnigalante parara pidisuta. Been thinking of this beautiful bhajan by Purandara Dasa. He says, stop being like a puppy at the door of people waiting for their validation and acceptance. Move on in your life. Think of your spiritual progress. So we need to, just like Kunti Devi prayed for all her thoughts and emotions to flow towards Krishna, just as Arjuna directed all his dilemmas, doubts, fears, uncertainties. It doesn't matter if it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion, but he did direct it to Krishna. He channeled those energies and took shelter of the Lord. So, my dear friends, there will be a certain depth to certain aspects of our personality. There will be a certain depth to certain relationships in our life. There will be a certain depth to our identity that we have been clinging to for several years or several decades. There will be that chance to let go of it consciously, willingly, or we will be forced to. We will be kicked on the backside until we accept and move on. We will be slapped in the face and kicked in our nose to let go of things that we are clinging to that don't serve our purpose. So who is our Vidura telling us to wake up and give up these worldly attachments that is blocking us? What is that snake bird that is going to bite us? Something from our previous life, some previous life karma does not let us to be at peace and enjoy these material comforts. Thank Krishna for that and move on. Let's learn from Kunti Devi to move on from those traumas, to stop feeding that black hole of being a victim, feeling guilty, giving into shame, giving into anger, giving into blaming others. Let's stand on our own leg and not crawl before anybody. Let us surrender to Krishna and understand that everything that takes birth has to die. And I'm going to end with another rap from the same second chapter. This is the first verses of second chapter where Krishna is challenging Arjuna. This is for you, my dear friends. Imagine Krishna asking you this. Replace Arjuna with your name. This is Sanjaya. Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. To see Arjuna aching and forsaking his great task made Krishna take a break, put down the reins, and turn to ask, why are you popping out, Arjuna? What's that going to do? Besides, make you look gutless and bring karma down on you. It's too bizarre to come this far and then to fall apart. Arjuna, stand and fight right now and let the battle start. Arjuna is saying, you want me to fight loved ones, dude. I know what. You want me to fight loved ones. Don't you know that if I do, I'll kill grandfather Bhishma and my teacher Drona too. I'd rather be a beggar than the killer of my clan. Their boss is Wayne, but if they're slain, their blood will stain my hands. I'm too confused to choose. Should I confront them or give in? As dumb as they may be, how can I come to kill these men? And even if I rule the earth as demigods rule heaven, I do it as a clueless fool who's drowning in depression. Each way I lose, I'm so confused. I need some help from you. Just take me as an empty slate and tell me what to do. Just take me as an empty slate and tell me what to do. Just take me as an empty slate and tell me what to do. So this is our prayer today to Krishna. Take me as an empty slate, my dear Lord. So many complications in my life, but please tell me, what do you want me to do? Okay, so then basically Sanjaya concludes, Arjuna, in the drama of his trauma and his plight, slumped further and said, no, Govinda, no, I cannot fight. Arjuna dropped his bow as Krishna, showing his mystique, smiled slightly at this sullen soul, and then began to speak. So let Krishna speak to us. Okay, let Krishna speak to us. Let us take up our weapons and attack our character defects. And let us pray to Krishna to remove those character defects. So, my dear friends, those are some thoughts on today's section, where those trivial tears, if it can lead us to that humility, to that point of surrender, let's gracefully cry, but not just sit and cry, but let those tears flow towards washing the lotus feet of Krishna. And we can stop being the dog and that puppy waiting for other people. And today I had my own little breakthrough after reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning. I made some resolutions in my life and I edited something that has been draining my energy, and I decided to not be on the phone as much, and I disconnected from a certain communication, and it's really giving me that sense of empowerment, how Srimad Bhagavatam can, wow, it's really that brilliant sun which can destroy that ignorance in the heart. No, I was so lost in this dark well, trying to look for shelter. And then this reading today, Vidura telling Dhritarashtra, I really felt like, oh my God, I am doing similar things like Dhritarashtra, you know. So Srimad Bhagavatam is really powerful, and it can bring about the transformation in our life, in our hearts. So I am very, very grateful for your Sangha. And if you have any thoughts, any questions, let me know. Oh, thank you, Sandhya. Hi, Krishna.
Yeah. Just want to say I really love you, Mataji, today for whatever you've shared. It's just gone so deep in my heart. It's just so brilliant. And your own resolution to like cut off certain things, that's inspiring me also to cut certain things in from my life. So thank you so much for that resolution that you've made. And all your words today was like just like nectar for me. So it's just so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Extremely inspiring. And it's the truth. I mean, I've always been so conscious about death can come anytime. You know, even for the past 12 years, it's always been there. Like, you know, I don't know for what reason, maybe past impression, something, it's always there. So there's that, you know, everything over here is impermanent. That's also always acting on my mind. But yet, despite these two things, still, you know, falling to those, inner urges of wasting time. Why should I do that? You know, I'm asking myself, why should I do that? I don't want to do that, you know. want to refocus more on reading the Shastras and just going more deep in that. It's just, and these Sanghas also, just to be able to open up and speak to another devotee who has, fantastic idea about what's the goal, and then their character, and they have so much of integrity. Just to have this conversation with you, I feel so much blessed, and very, very blessed. I'm very happy. Thank you so much. Really love you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Taruni Radha. I want to thank you for these words that sometimes, you bring out words in your share that keeps, in my background. And then I come up with all this, I'm putting this rap together and I read something else and I'm like, oh my God, that's like a beautiful podcast, Trivial Tears. And then we can connect so many trivial tears from different Shastric examples and see how they dealt with that, So thank you. I feel uplifted by your Sangha equally. So I'm benefited more than you are actually. And in that context, I just wanted to read something from this book called Leadership Lessons from Bhagavad Gita. It's a very, this section, this section in the second chapter, I mean, there are 2-3 sections, but one point, this is verses from 214 to 216. These are 2-3 things, and I'm going to this is translated like this. Sense perception causes sensations of cold and heat, happiness and distress. Impermanent, they appear and disappear, therefore tolerate them. The person who responds equally to distress and happiness remaining sober in both is qualified for eternal existence. The unreal has no existence, and real has no non-existence. Seers of the truth have concluded this by observing the nature of both. And in that, I like this statements here. Which is stable. So we must recognize that which is stable and that which is subject to change, okay, in our daily life circumstances. Spirit is permanent, whereas matter is temporary. Understanding this will make you steady and resilient to the transience, I don't know how to pronounce that, of the material world where change is a constant. It will also enable you to provide stability to others who've been swept away in the tidal currents of the ocean of material existence. Although these tides constantly change, at any time, the happiness or distress experienced in the material world appears enduring. The false sense of permanence in a constantly changing material world is a trick of the mind. If it can lull you into assuming you can restructure yourself on the basis of your carefully laid out plans, this assumption is problematic for several reasons. First, it assumes that your plans, your structure is a solid state where change will be temporarily introduced, but before again returning to another solid state based on your new plan or new design. The reality is that your plans is constantly changing as well, right? Even at this very moment, as nothing in this world is permanent. So second problem is that nothing goes exactly according to our plan, even if our plans are like super perfect, right? We think I want to become a pure devotee and therefore I need to do this and the house should be in this status and my children should do this and my husband should do that. And we may have all that, but we have no control over the variables that influence any given situation. Okay, that's the second problem. And the third problem is the destination you hope to reach at the end of your change initiative will also be fluid and in a constant state of flux. So anyway, these are the 3 issues that we must keep in mind about tolerating the temporary, okay? And then I've also learned from my grandmother this big lesson about she tolerated strange situations, but she didn't let it get to her. She didn't let it influence her sense of identity or who she is, or she never let anybody define who she is. She always had her strong sense of belonging with scriptures, and she didn't let any of the situations she was tolerating to get to her deeply inside. So that's why these principles can be so crucial, these small, simple points. Tolerate the temporary and understand that this false sense of permanence in a constantly changing material world is a trick of the mind. because we're looking for that permanent shelter, right? Permanently, we want to feel secure, we want to feel protected. But if we can accept that that is possible only the way Arjuna got it, the way Yudhishthir got it. Imagine really the emperor of the world who did his dharma, who lost everything. He lost his relatives, he lost his own children, he lost his sense of pride, his dignity. Everything was lost. He's standing there, and whatever Arjuna had feared in the beginning of the war, he said, I'm going to lose everybody. Who am I going to show off my kingdom and show that I'm the emperor? I will have nobody to show off. And that's happening to Yudhishthir, right? So when that is happening to Yudhishthir, he's still in that state of like realizing that even this is not permanent. So if Yudhishthir Maharaj accepted that Parikshit is going to die by a snake bite, and immediately he made peace. He said, if it's for the service of the Lord and he's going to think of the Lord, fine. Immediately. And yet we are looking for permanence. He wasn't. He saw the impermanence of the whole entire Kuru dynasty. And so we are in that illusion. We think our children, our whoever, our families, we are thinking in terms of permanence, thinking of insurance, thinking of who knows what. We want the relationship to be permanent. We want loyalty of our partners to be intact. We want our investments to always give profit and have no loss. Oh, I'm telling you, we can go on and on about all the hopes we have about permanence in this world. But the simple fact that it's not going to work. Prepare your mind. This world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. It's temporary and it's full of miseries. Wow, what a shift we can have. That's the shift we see in Parikshit. That's the shift we see in Gajendra. That's the shift we saw in Ajamila. That's the shift we see in Dhruva Maharaj. That's the shift we saw in Prahlad. I mean, Prahlad was always pure, but we see the shift in many devotees' cases. So thank you.
Yeah, so just to follow up question on that is you were saying like how that's true that yes, I'm searching for this permanence in this impermanent, ever changing world. That's true, and that is what I mean. And then when I try to give up this kind of this false shelter, right, there is this fear of what's going to happen. Tomorrow what's going to happen. That very fact that fear is there means it's in Maya, illusion. Maya keeps you in either fear or lamentation, or you're not present in the current moment, right? That is Maya, illusion. So the fact that I'm feeling this fear means I'm an illusion. That and yet I'm thinking in my heart, oh, I love Krishna, and he's my only shelter. I'm saying that, but yet why do I fear? That means what? My complete dependency on Krishna is not so firm that I don't believe that he's going to be there to take care of me tomorrow if something happens. This permanence that I'm searching for, if it's not going to be there tomorrow, that fear that I have, why am I thinking that I'm going to control that also? Why can't I just give that up to Krishna and say, I accept your plan. You are there. You'll never forsake me. I know it. And I've experienced in the past. That much belief I have. But when it comes to just that one more step, to say that I hand over my fear to you, Krishna, that is, that's not happening. That's where I'm struggling,
Mm-hmm. Well, there is two things. First thing, you have to be so grateful, and I'm feeling so proud of you that you have that awareness that that part of you that wants permanence. That is a greatest gift, because that is the soul. That's the more we are looking for that permanence, that much we are advanced too, in one sense. You know what I mean? Because that is the nature of the soul. That's in the quality of the soul. Satchit Ananda. It's eternal, it's blissful, it's full of knowledge. So naturally we are looking for that permanent position, because that is our real identity. That is our Swarupa. The Swarupa aspect of us is permanent. But then we cannot find the eternal permanence of that Swarupa in a Swabhava world. Swabhava is an acquired nature, right? We have this acquired conditioning, acquired in all these things such as fear and insecurity and guilt and then shame and then all these things. It's just covering. It's just this nature that we have acquired because of the modes of this material nature, modes of nature. It's not us in reality. So even just recognizing that thin line between the two and appreciating the fact that I'm looking for permanence, it's a great news. Because if that's really your goal, oh my God, you got 50% of your purpose of life in place. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm trying to say? It's a great news. But then to apply that understanding in situations, that gap between us looking for permanence and the nature of this material world, disappointments, breakups, hurtful feelings, misery, humiliation, all that stuff, to create that bridge and do what Yudhishthir did. He said, oh my God, my grandchild, Parikshit, my only grandchild, the only future, the only hope for the whole dynasty, is going to die by a snake bite. Ouch. Right? Ouch. Permanence. No hope for permanence. Gets the news. Child is going to, the king is going to die. The king is going to die. And then what is the bridge? The bridge, he says, you want to read it again? Let me share the screen again. This is important. Is it here? No, it's not here. I want to read that because I've been meditating on this chapter. So what does he say? Yudhishthira says, he says, he felt. So Yudhishthira felt, or should I go back a little bit more here? Yeah. They looked quizzically at the priest who explained. After they were explained, this Brahmin boy will be immature, so he will curse him, etc. Yudhishthira, no, I think I should read this part here, where, what did they say? They said, however, your grandson will take the curse as an opportunity to detach himself from the world and surrender to Krishna. So as soon as Yudhishthira was given that hope that Parikshit is going to take this as an opportunity to surrender to Krishna, as soon as he heard that, bridge was immediately built. The immediate bridge between the hope of permanence and the reality that this hope, only hope, I mean, they're all surviving, literally. They're just there alive because of Parikshit. Otherwise, they were like, everything is lost, everything is dead, everything is gone. I mean, this chapter gets more and more intense. Tomorrow we're going to study about Krishna's departure and how Vidura is going to deal with that and how he's going to bring it to the Pandavas. So they're losing hope after hope after hope. After the Kurukshetra, they lived for 36 years more, and there was so much struggle to rebuild the whole kingdom, and Parikshit was that only hope. And then astrologer comes and they say he's also going to be dead, with some strange snake bite. Immediately, what does Yudhishthira do? The bridge, as soon as he builds it, Yudhishthira felt reassured. Anything that led to Krishna's service was always auspicious. Okay, so this is our let's say homework to build that bridge, and it's not a one-day affair. We cannot do it overnight. We need to constantly be reminded that yes, I'm looking for permanence. There is no permanence in this world. So how do I bridge that gap? How do I? Sadhu Sangha, reading of scriptures, being in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, all those things creates that bridge. Actually, literally like that. You see, the Bhagavad Gita is the bridge. That's the bridge that we need. So, okay, at least for me, there's that pride that I want to get it now. Okay, there's Gita, there is Bhagavatam. Why don't I give up my ego? Why don't I learn? And why don't I just become completely faithful and give to Krishna everything? And why don't I fix my life tomorrow? That's self-will again. That's me and my sense of doership. Kartaham iti manyate. I want to get my life together. I want to be spiritually in a better place. That's my problem again. What was Yudhishthir's bridge? He was not saying, okay, I've understood. No, he didn't say I there at all. His point was whatever. I'll read the exact words there. Yudhishthir felt reassured. anything that led to Krishna's service was always auspicious. So the point is, if me feeling helpless, hopeless, I'm feeling disgusted with my material attachments, and I'm being kicked by the material modes, and I've been insulted and humiliated by people that I want shelter from, I want validation from, I want protection from. They're disappointing me again and again. I mean, I'm just giving an example here. And then I look at that situation and I say, yeah, ideal scenario, I'm supposed to be completely surrendered to Krishna and not depend on this human being to give me protection, validation, whatever that is I'm looking for. Yes, ideally. But you know what? The truth is, I am powerless. I'm dependent on this individual to some extent. At least I'm aware I'm dependent, and that permanence is not going to come, never going to come. Yes, I'm an illusion. And yes, I would like to reach that state of complete surrender and acceptance. It's not yet happened. And I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. And to be in that moment, as you said rightly, right? To be in that moment and say, Krishna, your will and not mine be done. It's not about me getting it right. It's not about me doing it quickly, fast. As long as my weakness is being of service. I mean, as a personal example, whenever I'm doing some of these Gita connection classes or Krishna connection, or I'm doing these emotional sobriety meetings, whenever we are discussing certain things, opening our hearts, revealing our minds in confidence, following Rupa Goswami, etc., creating these support groups, it came as a result of my pain. It came as a result of me struggling to and being unable to find that bridge. And I was so like parched and starved of how do I build that bridge, that I started these groups. So if that pain of mine, that misery of mine, that humiliation or whatever thing that I went through was of service to create these support groups, it was a success. And what was Yudhishthira Maharaj says? Auspicious. So if my pain is going to be a catalyst for service, it's auspicious. So the problem is not our problems and our flaws. The problem is that we don't connect that to Krishna. As soon as it's connected to Krishna, us being weak position, us being in a weak position, us being imperfect, can still be of service to Krishna. Anger can be used in service of Krishna, like Hanuman. Remember, only envy cannot be used in service, but every other emotion can be used in service of Krishna. So they can all be auspicious. They can all be turned into, it can all transform us to become better servants of Krishna. And better servants of Krishna, I mean that humility, that Krishna, you make me what you want. Aslishya va padaratam pinastuma madarshanam. You want to give me darshan, you want to take away, you want to give me strength, you want to make me weak, you want to make me whatever it is, your will, not mine, be done. May, in one of those third step prayer, there's this point that I pray every day. Today I'm willing that you have all of me. No, not that one. The other prayer. Please to help me to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may do your will. Remove my difficulties so that the victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of your power, your love, and your way of life. So the point is, remove my difficulties, not so that I can enjoy, not so that I can feel better, not that I can feel pure, but remove my difficulties so that victory over those difficulties will inspire other people to come closer to you. So as long as our goal is to come closer to Krishna and help others to come closer to Krishna, we can ask the Lord to remove our obstacles. But the obstacles are not removed just for the sake of us becoming something great. It's meant for others to come closer to Krishna. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, you brought up so many beautiful points that triggered for me some realizations. Anybody else likes to share something?
Thank you so much for opening your heart. It was just so beautiful. Just hearing all your fantastic realizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sarva Mangala, I see you ready to share something.
To everybody, my humble obeisances. This is a wonderful class. Thank you so much for giving it. Thank you so much for sharing so much. And, it's just resonate with us for everything you're talking about it. I mean, I don't have the right words. Everybody's talking about it so nicely. I don't know what else to say, but other than to say thank you so much. Even the prayers you're mentioning, the points you're giving, it is so encouraging for us when we come to these discussions or these Zoom meetings to know that, this is where we need to be. This is the right path. This is how we need to think or to behave. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I wish I could share this with other Vaishnavis in my group. I'm not sure if this being recorded. Is this being recorded or not? Are we recording this?
Yes.
Can this be shared with just a Vaishnavi group?
Yes, I can send you the link and then you can share the same.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And you were reading this book on Bhagavad Gita. Which one is it? If I could see it, because I have one.
I mean, I was referring to the purports of Prabhupada from the Gita, the original. I shared some on the screen. And then I was reading some of this rap. I combined some of from these two books. One is this book called The Wrath of God. Actually, it's like the Wrath of God, and then the wrath is scratched out and it says Wrath of God.
Okay.
It's an excellent book written by Kalakanta Prabhu. He has written two books. One is called Gita Gyan. I have that one also here. And then let me show you that also. This one is basically like a rap version or like a poetic version of Gita, summarized like that. It really helps me because some of these lines are like, like the one I read today. One of my favorite one was like, I mean, there are so many lines like that, but one is like, it's too bizarre to come this far and then to fall apart. Arjuna, stand and fight right now and let the battle start. It's like, it's very capturing that. It's like the whole verse. And then Krishna says, yeah, even this one I like. Wiser dudes are never moved by things they can't avoid. Like some of these words are like really catches your attention. And then one of my favorite one was this one. I just read that. Yeah, when Arjuna, these are prayers of Arjuna, right? I really like this one. When Arjuna is saying like, even if I rule the earth as demigods rule heaven, I do it as a, can I wrap it? And even if I rule the earth as demigods rule heaven, I do it as a clueless fool who's drowning in depression. Each way I lose, I'm so confused. I need some help from you. Just take me as an empty slate and tell me what to do. That point is very good. Each way I lose, I'm so confused. I need some help from you. Just take me as an empty slate and tell me what to do. This is the 1 to 10th verse, those 9 and 10 verse. He speaks exactly. Arjuna is exactly saying, I'm so confused, Krishna, I need some help from you. Please take me as, he says, Shishyasteham sadimam tvam prapannam. Arjuna is basically saying, I'm your disciple, take me, I'm an empty slate. Tell me what to do. So it's very relevant to meditate on. It's like, small, short words of reminder.
It's very nice. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we have something in the chat box, so let's see. Neha Agarwal, thank you for the wonderful class. While you were speaking of Kunti Maharani, I was thinking that what one is having insight comes out during tough situations. Kunti Maharani is full of gratitude and love for Krishna. So even in so traumatic situation of her grandson's death, she's still feeling love and gratitude for Krishna. Yeah. I mean, this is something inconceivable to understand. And that's why I thought, that full realization. Taruni Radha had brought up that point in one of her Bhagavatam readings, that perhaps Kunti, she had that complete realization that nothing is lost. Like Krishna is saying to Arjuna, whether this is the end of everything, or you're going to take birth again, there's no loss. So Kunti is not worried for the Upapandavas in one sense, right? But at the same time, she doesn't want to bring up that traumatic situation. So that is the mood of a devotee. We understand that this relationship is not pleasant or pleasurable. We know that this, oh my God, so many responsibilities, all these duties I have. It's not pleasant. It's not very easy. But at the same time, we know that this is not the end of the world. That's Kunti Devi's bigger thinking. Thank you, Krishna. Give me difficulties so that when difficulty will be there, you will be there. So please put me through difficulties, because I know you'll be there, right there, which means difficulties will be overcome if you're there. Yeah. So Kunti is like a whole, oof, so beautiful. I'm going to make a podcast a few podcast episodes on Kunti. I'll share the link once it's done. I'm learning a lot with these Bhagavatam readings. And Tarani Radha, you're saying about, I would like to hear, okay. I don't know how many of you are part of the Krishna Connection 12 Steps group, because there I can put the channel. There are two channels. One is called Sri Radha Govinda Dasi. And there are two channels. One is with Gita Connection classes. And then I have another one where I put all other things like meditations and Bhagavatam classes like that. So there are two channels. I'll share both the channel in the group.
Okay.
I will add you, Taruni. Don't worry. And
thank you.
yeah. Somebody said something I couldn't hear.
I was just saying I'm in the connection group. So yeah, if you're sharing in there, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Neha, are you part of the Krishna Connection 12 Step group? Because that's like the internal group where, I don't know if Neha is part of that. Thank you, Sandhya.
Sorry about that, interrupting. Would you have a link that I can share with some Vaishnavis if they want to join that connection group?
Yeah. So what I'll do is the Krishna Connection 12 Step, you're also part of it. I'll send the link to join the Krishna Connection. But this is not just for anybody anybody. This is for people who are really serious about improving themselves and wanting to learn, and who are willing to at least participate. This is a very active group. We don't want some inactive participants in that group. We do have other groups, such as Krishna Connection, just normal Krishna Connect groups. But this Krishna Connection 12 Steps has to be somebody really seriously working on themselves, and somebody who can maintain confidentiality and, be there for each other. We are trying to create that sort of, community. We do outreach and things.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
I have sent the link in the Krishna Connection 12 Steps. For those who you can send it to those you think will benefit joining this group and be active member of being there for each other. And in this group, I'm sending out any notifications for Sunday meetings, Friday meetings, or Tuesday meetings. Only the daily Bhagavatam class, I'm not sending notifications to this group. For daily Bhagavatam class, it's another group that also I'll send it in Krishna Connection. So you can have that as well. If those of you are in America or India, this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya can also be relevant. Okay, I've sent both the link in Krishna Connection, so you can join whichever. And then there's also outreach group. That's another one. Yeah. Thank you. Let's see what else is in the chat box. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Trisandhya. Neha, I have sent the 12-step Oh, are you part of Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Neha?
I think I'm part of that.
Okay, check your Neha, if you can put your number, I'll add you to the Krishna connection. Are you sure, Taruni? Okay. I thought she was supposed to add you, Vilas Manjari. I'll add both of you. I have both your numbers now. Okay.
So
Let
is
me add
that
it.
number a Krishna Connect group, connection group? Because I'm in that one and I didn't see the link.
Oh, I think you're not
Uh,
part of the Krishna Connection 12 steps. I think you're part of the just the normal. Just put your number there. I'll add you right now.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, this Krishna Connection 12 steps, I just really want to know the person before I add. That's all.
Okay. Okay. No, I will think about it for sure.
You send me, yeah, I'll add all three of you. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the live here, and then we're going to just do the other, how do you call it? Housekeeping, adding you to the group. So for those of you watching this on YouTube, and if you like to be added, just write to me personally on my email or connect with one of our groups and we'll send you the link.